boys and girls, men and women. It's that time again when we talk about some Battlefield 4 shizzle, where we lick our fingers with anticipation, and when we guess the night away at things we are yet to find out about Battlefield 4, we insist on talking about them anyway. With so much information out there that we found out lately over the past few weeks, it's really hard to comb through all of it. New game modes announced, new maps that we have seen in the form of Parasol Storm, and even screenshots to a potential new map with a dam that we've probably seen already in the Levolution trailer, but now we can kind of get to see the layout of it in this screenshot. All this information and news coming through though, I wanted to talk about something that hasn't been covered as much. In fact, it's something that's very relevant to myself and the sort of competitive side of Battlefield. So before we get started, I just want to talk about the footage here in the background. This is actually from 3 Flag Conquest on Noshar Canals. Now, that doesn't maybe seem that exciting, but I've played Noshar Canals on full Conquest. I've played it on Rush. I've of course played it on TDM. But never, until this game, had I ever experienced it on just 3 Flag Conquest. And I find that baffling. But either way, it's a fantastic game, and I really actually liked it on 3 Flag. If you haven't tried it, go give it a go. But anyway, on to the video. So I'm talking about Defuse mode. Now for those of you who don't know, I will explain what it is. Now, Defuse mode hasn't really been talked about, or technically even announced properly or officially. After Gamescom, something popped up on the Battlefield website alongside the other newly announced game modes such as Obliteration. You can see it here on screen. Now this is what it says under Defuse. Defuse is an all-new competitive game mode with attackers and defenders built for tight combat and quick gameplay. Die and you will not respawn until the next round. So this tells us some interesting information. Firstly, the use of the word competitive is music to my ears. I know of course competition and eSports type game modes is not everyone's cup of tea, but it's certainly something that I wanted to see, and in fact I had a video out some time ago talking about search and destroy and that type of game mode and how it would fit in Battlefield, and this is exactly what I was talking about. It's the same game mode, just a different name. I feel as though this game mode will dominate the eSports scene, rather than the current Conquest game mode that is played during 5v5s in Battlefield 3. Now don't get me wrong, I don't think that means we won't see any 5v5 Conquest tournaments or leagues, because I think we will, for the simple fact that 5v5 Conquest is such a fast-paced and ever-changing game mode that it really does make for some epic and interesting games. I know that at LAN, when we were playing Battlefield 3, we had some really close games, nail-biting games, that the spectators behind us really appreciated. But of course back then there was no spectator mode available for other people to see. I think there's room for both Conquest 5v5 and Defuse 5v5 to coexist. What 5v5 Defuse will give us though is almost a title game mode that can be advertised for the Battlefield 4 esports scene. Look at Counter-Strike for example. Now it's hard to compare the two games and I'm not going to try in terms of the style or game modes. Competitively though, Counter-Strike has never needed a new game mode. It's got plenty of other game modes now with the introduction of CSGO, but competitively, that game mode is the only one it's ever known and the only one it ever needs. It's a game mode that many players across many games, such as Counter-Strike, Call of Duty, etc. are all familiar with because the premise is the same. Of course in Battlefield the maps, the engine, controls will differ, but the mentality of the game mode won't change. What this means is that players and or teams can come across from other games and give this game a go, hopefully boosting the esports scene in Battlefield 4. They don't have to worry about adapting to a new game mode, learning the strategies and tactics of Conquest 5v5. They already have a mentality for that search and destroy defuse game mode, they just need to adapt to this particular game. I feel as though teams or players with a search and destroy background and or a Counter-Strike background will have a certain mental advantage with this game mode, but that will soon change as the players learn and adapt to the new game. The same can be said of teams that are at the top level currently in 5v5 Conquest, as that may not always translate to a top 5v5 Defuse team. Meaning in fact we could see one team be the best at Conquest and another be the best at Defuse, and that really is quite exciting. Now the reason I talk about the mentality towards Defuse is because of its nature of no respawns. It really does change the dynamic of a Battlefield player. Currently when playing 5v5 Conquest, you really go into battles knowing their importance, but also knowing you'll come back in and respawn should you die or even make a mistake, for example. That isn't the case in Defuse, as when you were dead for the round, and each move, shot, grenade will be vital. It will also bring out new tactics and roles for teams, learning grenades and set grenades, where to smoke, where to flashbang, as now we have this new flash tool at our disposal as well, where to grenade at the beginning of a round to enable players to get into target areas, where to smoke to stop players from rushing certain areas. All these elements make for a completely different Battlefield experience that I myself am truly looking forward to. Now there is of course another element to discuss in the description of this Defuse game mode, and that is where it says, built for tight combat and quick gameplay. Now does this mean the maps are designed especially for this game mode? Highly unlikely, but I hope that they have been suitably modified for this mode in mind. For example, right now, every game mode is available on every map, so Rush, Conquest, TDM, etc. The map stays the same, but certain areas are used for each game mode. For example, the docks on Noshar Canals being used for TDM. The layout is slightly changed for those who haven't noticed. New containers are added for cover, just to balance out the area. Now, not all game modes work on every map, and this is something I've talked about at length before, so I won't go into detail on it here. But Defuse or Search and Destroy is really only, and I mean only, as good as the map design. It really needs to be well balanced, have competitive maps, and that means not just plopping down some bomb sites anywhere on the map and hoping it works. It really needs someone to take a map, for example, like Shanghai Siege, and change the layout of a small section to really suit the game type that is being played, and I sincerely hope that is what they've done. If they do what they have done for Rush in Battlefield 3, so just shove down some MCOMs down in a tiny little room that has only 2 doors and is a clusterfuck, then this game mode will be doomed. Search and Destroy or Defuse relies on having balanced maps that work well in this game mode. You can't just make a game mode called Defuse, use the same map layout and expect it to work, because it won't. It needs to be thought out and balanced, and hopefully it will be. I think no matter what game you've come from, be it Battlefield 3, Call of Duty, Counter-Strike, or even if you're a returning Battlefield veteran that didn't even play Battlefield 3, then you'll love the change in pace of this game mode, and I think it will be a huge success. Thanks for watching, guys, and be sure to check out my channel for all things competitive and esports related when Battlefield 4 drops, including lots of 5v5s and hopefully leagues and tournament footage. As always, I'll catch you on the next one.